30 projections in 30 days going into the 2024 regular season for the New York Mets as we continue our month-long deep dive into the Metsman roster. Today's player is Adrian Houser. Over the offseason, the Mets acquired Houser in a trade with Milwaukee, along with outfielder Tyrone Taylor in exchange for pitching prospect Coleman Crowe. Over his entire career, Houser has been a very solid back-end rotation piece in Milwaukee, turning in another quality campaign in 2023, posting a 4.12 earned run average, a 3.99 fielding independent pitching, striking out 20% of batters across 111.1 innings pitched. With plus pitch shape and contact management stuff, Houser did have a down year in terms of it, with career worst in average exit velocity, hard hit rate, and barrel rate, but a career low in walk rate and running into some hard luck with a 320 batting average with balls in play. Houser isn't explosive by any means, but his 5-pitch mix can be very effective from a high swiping arm slot. A low 90s running sinker, mid 90s fastball that can top 96, cutting action slider, a high dropping curveball, and a side spinning style changeup. With plus control and average command, Houser remains in the top 10% for ground ball rate and the top 25% in barrel rate for a large majority of his career. Houser will be entering a 31-year-old season, set to become a free agent after 2024.
When it comes to Houser, I mean, he gives you what you want from a back-end rotation piece. I mean, here's a guy that you know what he's going to make starts for you. He's not going to be amazing. He's not going to give you 8 innings of shutout ball, but he's also not going to give you, 2 innings of 7-run ball. He's a guy that's going to take the mound every 5, maybe 6 days, depending on if the Mets do a 6-man rotation this season. And he's just going to give you quality innings. I mean, again, he's not going to shut you down, but it's something to be said of like just having a guy in your rotation that could just make the start every 5 days and keep you in the game when he is in the back end of your rotation. So Houser fills that role. I think this definitely was a good acquisition. The Mets to get him via trade, not have to give up anything crazy because they didn't need more arms for this rotation, after, what happened this past season. So I think all in all, having the David Stearns connection, bringing him in a Milwaukee guy, right at age 30, age 31, I think this definitely was a solid move that I was on board with, again, just because of what it cost and, what he's going to give you. I mean, I don't have crazy expectations for him, but because, again, he doesn't have a huge role. It's just like make the start, keep us in the game. Don't have to give us 6 innings or anything like that. We don't need 1-run ball, but just keep us in the game. Make the start every 5 days. Like it's literally like just do your job. And we're not asking you to be an ace or top of the rotation piece. Like that's just kind of what he is, in my opinion.
It's hot when he's on the mound. He's just kind of a dude, and he can give he's a ground ball pitcher. David Stearns has prioritized the defense. So, you put a ground ball pitcher with great defense, he should be the greatest pitcher alive. Again, he's back-end stuff, guy, and now especially with the scare of Kodai Senga, now he's going to be elevated a little bit more and needed to, maybe early on the season fill a bigger role. Hopefully by the end of the, midway through the season or whenever Kodai's back, he could settle back into that backhand role. But again, he's a 5-6 starter. There's nothing crazy about him. 3 to 4 runs, 5-6 innings. There's really nothing more. That's what he is. And if you can get a bunch of those type of guys to not every time he goes out, not kill the bullpen, that's kind of what all I ask for. I don't need to have a call a bullpen in the 3rd inning. Stay in games, give me at least 5 and not kill my bullpen every 5th or 6th day. For what he is and for what the price you got him for, there's nothing much. The expectations aren't, crazy high. You just fill that back end spot and pop off occasion.
I think that this is one of your value arms where you can get the best out of somebody who's not making much. He's not going to have that big of a workload, especially with the quantity that the Mets are kind of pushing into their rotation, especially with their number 1 guy down for the first few months. But one thing that I think Mets fans are really satisfied in with it, and this is kind of how I look at it, and I'm sure that is going to come to a realization with a lot of Mets fans going with Adrian Houser. I think the main statement that you have to make with this type of addition that they've made this offseason with him is that's better than Carlos Carrasco, built up a little bit more into the back end of their rotation where they push a lot of guys down the depth chart, and they have quite a few options. They have Adrian Houser, who is still young relatively. He's in the prime of his career. He's not too old. He's not too young. So he's been around, and he can give you quality innings. I just want to let everybody know that projections are not predictions. They are benchmarks of a player's current specific percentile outcome based on predictive data and results. Now, as for my projections, I decided to go with, in my opinion, each player's 75th percentile outcome. Although a majority of player projections are constructed from the player's 50th percentile outcome, I personally wanted to give a median between sustainability and upside. It also helps everyone identify whether I'm high or low on a player a lot easier. Now, as for Adrian Houser, 118 innings pitched, 17% strikeout rate, a 7.7 walk rate, a 4.12 earned run average, a 4.23 fielding independent pitching, 1.1 home runs per 9, and a 1.1 wins above replacement.
You know, as an old man, when I look at ERA, that's an interesting projection because that's the exact same ERA he had from last season. You know what I mean? So it's like, listen, if you could kind of just be what you were before, that's why we got you. So I'm fine with that, because what you don't want to see is, like we talk about all the time, here's a guy who's a decent player, comes to the Mets, doesn't happen. So if he could just be what he's been in Milwaukee his whole career as a back end, we got him to be a back end piece. That's a back end piece kind of performance and, you know, stats. That's fine by me.
The innings projection would be his third highest of his career. So, I mean, I think that's, again, you get 120 quality innings out of any starting pitchers when you sign up for, you get them for literally nothing. A flyer prospect, you take that any day of the week. Again, the innings look good. The ERA, we know we love good ERA. 4 is a 6 starter. You take it every day of the week. As long as he's not walking guys, you can give me 120 innings. Keep the ball in the ballpark. Like, you know, that's kind of what he is. And if that's, again, like Frank said, if you just duplicate what you did last year, I think we all kind of say, you know what, that's perfectly fine. He's, you know, we brought him in for nothing. We're getting some quality value out of him. That's all kind of we can ask for.
I mean, I also want to put out on notice, season has not started, but of course, Adrian Houser is going to be a pending free agent. That is, if he does put out some quality and the team's not in the race, he could be one of the trade pieces that you send over, replenish the farm system even more. Now, I think that when you look at Adrian Houser, you just need for him to do his role, nothing more, nothing less. There's no any pressure that you actually have to put on him. I think that even if you do have some injuries in this rotation, you don't need to really rely on Adrian Houser as much, because there's obviously some pieces in the wings that you expect to take on a little bit more of a workload. As for Adrian Houser, for somebody who, you know, at his best, he's giving you a solid sub-4 earned run average, managing contact, he's getting you outs. Like, that's basically what you need to see from Adrian Houser. Basically, just being a simple foundation to the bottom of this starting rotation.